Okay, hello everyone and welcome. We're really happy to be here with you in a virtual format. My name is Xenia Pestova Bennett. I am one of the co-artistic directors of the Nottingham Forum for Artistic Research. And I am also a pianist, but today I am playing for you on a different keyboard instrument. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And I am joined by my colleague and piano duo partner, Pascal Meyer. Pascal, tell us where you are.
I'm in Amsterdam. I'm a Luxembourg pianist based in Amsterdam, Netherlands. And I think that's how we've always collaborated, you being somewhere else on the planet, in Canada before, or me being in Amsterdam. Now you're a bit closer, but we've now actually functioned on in the same geographic place as a duo. So
That's a good point. That's a good point. And of course, we met when we were students in the Conservatory of Amsterdam many years ago. We won't talk about how long ago that was. But since we started working together professionally, we've always lived apart. So it's kind of apt that we're now connecting digitally to collaborate yet again from different geographical locations. So our program today is going to feature a little keyboard instrument that we're both quite fond of, called the toy piano. And of course, I say we're fond of it, but we also have maybe, Pascal, I don't know if you would agree, a sort of almost a love-hate relationship. Is that fair to say?
That's more than fair. I think it's an instrument that was never meant to be an instrument in the first place. It's called a toy piano for a reason. It's a toy, actually. And I think one composer put it out there as an instrument, and it's all his fault, actually. It's John Cage, who I think was the first one to write for this instrument. He wrote a suite for one toy piano, which is, I think, very famous by now. And also he wrote a piece called Music for Amplified Toy Pianos. So you can use as many toy pianos you want, and the score is much more free in a way than the suite. But he was the first one to bring this instrument into concert hall, let's say.
Yeah, and sometimes people think it's just like a little piano, but it really isn't. The whole mechanism functions differently, and we have little metal rods instead of strings. So there are some challenges for the performer who's coming from a, let's say, piano background, and then kind of trying to use transferable skills to work with the toy piano, but then finding that actually it feels and sounds completely different, and also has a different range of not only the notes available, but dynamics and expression and so on.
Exactly. And there's actually by now a huge wave of composers out there, and platforms and Facebook groups, and of people who really commit their lives to it. There are pianists who call themselves toy pianists, who actually have stopped, I think, almost completely playing the real big piano and dedicate their lives to the promotion of this smaller version of the piano.
And of course, also the kind of humorous nature and theatrical nature of the instrument is very attractive for performers and audiences. And hopefully you'll get a taste of this in today's program. So the first piece we'd like to talk about is the kind of classic of toy piano repertoire, John Cage Music for Amplified Toy Pianos. And the score of this piece is really interesting and poses its own challenges. So you have a set of transparencies that as a performer you layer on top of each other. So each performance is completely different because you literally construct your own version of the score. And I'm going to share a screenshot with you that shows you our version of the score, or one of the versions that we used for this performance. So you can see kind of funny, a grid and then funny dots and bubbles and circles and a line. And it took us quite a while to figure out really what to do with the score. So Pascal, maybe you'd like to tell us about the process.
Yeah, it was a long process, actually. I remember also asking Cage connoisseurs and people who've spent more time on it than we did back then at the beginning of this project, on how to interpret a score like this. Obviously, Cage has a preface in his score saying this is how to use it. But again, John Cage's texts are
not always super clear. So
not very clear, no. So you can interpret it in very different ways, and of course, then you try to read other scores, other notes, performance notes, and try to make the best out of it, I would say. And I think that's why also when you go online and you search for this piece, you have completely different interpretations or sounding pieces that emanate from this very random score. So what happens is that what you see now is this big grid. The way we interpret it is that we choose, first of all, we choose a time. So we're using stopwatches, which is written in the score. And we decided that the first little square on the left would be 5 seconds, I think. And we move on like this towards the score. And this is just the first page. And we have about 10 pages to make it then a longer piece.
Yeah, so the duration is variable, isn't it? You can choose how long you want to play the piece for.
And it's, of course, free to use as many toy pianos or toy pianists, performers as you wish. And in the end, maybe just to keep it simple, what happens is that each dot on the grid represents a note that you play. And if it's higher up on the grid, it's higher up on the keyboard. And the circles, let's see, the circles that have a black dot in it, they should be noise or any sort of other sound that does not come from the toy piano.
And of course, John Cage's philosophy was famously telling us that any sound can be musical, so we can indeed interpret any sound or noise in a musical manner.
Exactly. And then you probably all wonder now, what is this big line in the middle? Is that something that went wrong? It's not. That's the volume. So in a live performance, there is actually someone who, because it's amplified toy pianos, who will amplify the toy pianos according to this line. So this on this page, as you can see, is descending. Then the volume would be of the amplification would go down as you move on this page.
Yeah, excellent. So that gives us an idea maybe of what to expect, but let's not give away any more. We'll introduce briefly the other repertoire on the project, and then you can have a listen for yourselves. So the other pieces we will play are 2 works by my colleague Duncan MacLeod, who is also a lecturer at the University of Nottingham and also co-directs the Nottingham Forum for Artistic Research together with myself and our colleague Elizabeth Kelly. And one of Duncan's pieces actually uses the grown-up piano, the big piano, so there is a combination of toy piano juxtaposed with the big piano. But for the other piece, we play 2 toy pianos and we have electronics as well. And then we also have a world premiere of a new work by Helen Papaioannou called Glow Sticks, and this uses electronics with the 2 pianos, 2 toy pianos. And lastly, another piece with electronics on the program, live electronics, is by Nina C. Young, Tête à Tête. And this performance was actually filmed when, shock horror, we could be in the same space. And it's sort of amazing to think of about these, performance opportunities when musicians and audiences could also be in the same space. So we very much look forward to, of course, resuming that again. This work posed particular challenges in terms of coordination and activating the electronic processing. So Pascal, would you like to tell us about that? Because you spent a lot of work on this.
Yes. So Nina's piece, I would say, does not really take into account too much the fact that the toy piano is not a real piano. It's actually really virtuoso piece. And I would say it's very challenging to play, just the instrument itself. But then on top of that, we both need to play little desk bells, which we need to hit very accurately. So this is on top of the toy piano itself. And then because there is live electronics, it could be played with a third person following the score and having exact cues as to where to activate which sound or which bank in the Max MSP patch. But of course, we like to do things ourselves. So I took that on me.
To make life more difficult.
Yes, that's another way to put it. So I'm activating these cues with my foot with a little MIDI pedal. which I think you don't see on the performance. But anyway, I have this extra thing to do, which means playing the toy piano, hitting the decibel, and activating the pedal. And of course, there are moments when you kind of do it all together, but then moments you don't. And so, yeah, it's a bit like being a drummer, I suppose, where your foot is doing one thing and the arm and this one. And so it's quite confusing and quite a challenge to put this together properly.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of coordination challenges while also coordinating with each other as a duo, of course. I suppose in a way this is not completely new to us, this sort of work, because we've worked on a massive piece for 2 pianos and electronics by Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, a kind of a real classic of the repertoire called Mantra. And in this piece, we have to play percussion as well as pianos and also modify electronic processing. And if you're interested, you can find a recording that we did for Naxos Records. This is already quite a while ago. And at the same time, we also have CDs of the piano works or keyboard works by John Cage for 2 pianos, 2 prepared pianos, when you insert objects in between the strings to modify the sound. And of course, toy pianos, so including music for amplified toy pianos. And Pascal has a copy of the CD to show you, so also on Naxos Records. And apparently it's now 7 years since we released this, which is kind of a terrifying thought, how time flies. But do check it out if you would like some more toy piano action. So I think this is everything we have time for now. Just to close, Pascal, I mean, this is kind of me going off-piste a little bit, and we haven't scripted this. But given that this is such a strange, difficult, confusing time for everyone, is there anything that keeps you going, gives you hope for the future? And, you know, anything you would like to share with our audiences to infuse an air of positivity? Can we look forward to more performances in person, or perhaps have we found new ways of reaching new audiences across the globe through technology because of this experience?
These are very challenging times for everyone, that's true. I should be sitting in a car or a train today, cruising to Luxembourg, playing for the Rainy Days Festival in Luxembourg, which is a modern music festival, which was cancelled also last week. So that's how it is. I have still hope for the week after, where we're supposed, with my ensemble in Luxembourg, to work with young composers. We have a composers academy there. So that's still on track. We hope it will happen, but probably will not end in a concert, but something more digital, something with live registration. And of course, I do think that some people manage to do interesting content online for people to watch through live feeds or pre-recorded videos. But it's very challenging for both us, I think, to come up with something actually different, actually interesting, and also for the audience to watch, because I believe that the live performances are really something special, especially in our field, where the sound is very important. The playing techniques can be very interesting to watch. And I think a lot of this gets lost online. So hopefully what we played, what we prepared for you today is interesting for you to watch and to listen to. But let's hope that we can go back on stage as soon as possible.
Yeah, so I think the message we can all take away from this is perhaps the experience of being deprived of sharing and meeting each other in a real physical space reminded us of how important that is for us as human beings, for our well-being, our growth and development, and that there is so much more to life than just sort of physical comfort. And of course, it's important, and we're lucky if we have food and shelter, and so many people around the world don't have access to so many basic needs. But once those basic needs are met, it's very important to also think about how we can enrich ourselves in other ways. So please do what you can to support live performance and ensure that live performance can continue after this experience. So let's all learn something and take it forward to create a better world. We need to continue lobbying our governments to support the arts. The arts are so vital and important for us as human beings. So we will end on a maybe slightly positive note with this. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Thank you, Pascal, for joining.
Thank you, Xenia.
And we look forward to seeing you in person in the coming months or years. Please take care. Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.